Mark Sears, kind of under the radar printing company that you have a profile about.
Very much so, yeah. And the theme of this one is that he's been behind the scenes and remains behind the scenes of a lot of quick service printing operations. So if you go to a quick printer, for example, let's say there's Quick Speedy or Kinko's, and I'm not saying that they necessarily service those organizations, but those are the brands that are recognizable, that you walk in and you order business cards and you order prints. Well, sometimes those orders go to a third party. And in this circumstance, CCI, which has been based in Riverside since about 1989, they're the ones who are actually printing those products for customers, and then they send them back to the company, the familiar brand name, and then it ends up in your hands. But Mark is kind of an interesting guy because he's been here since 1989. He's a local. He went to Norco High School, and he is expanding like nothing else right now. He has about 200 employees. He plans to have about 400 employees by the end of the year, and then hopefully 1,000 employees in about a year and a half. So that's exponential growth. And he's also growing his footprint. So he was at a 36,000 square foot facility off Columbia Avenue. Now he's moved to Sycamore Canyon Boulevard with a 120,000 square foot facility. And I was there yesterday, and tons of machinery, huge Mitsubishi size printers and presses and so forth. And yeah, big, massive warehouse with employees walking around doing projects.
So if it's like obviously they're not these companies, but just so for lack of a company that he does work with, someone like a Kinko's, let's say. Kinko's used to do a lot of their own operations, so now they farm out their operations, and not to him, but somebody like him, and then they would do the job and then bring it back to them for someone to pick up on a 12-hour notice or what have you?
Exactly. So, for example, yeah, those franchised operations that are that you walk into a storefront and say, hey, I want 500 business cards. Well, in most cases or some cases, they won't be printing those business cards there, and it won't be that company per se that's printing them. They're sending that order to someone else, for example, a CCI. And
right.
So they're giving it to them at a wholesale price, and CCI works entirely wholesale. So they are not serving any customers directly. They don't have any retail stores. They are serving those stores. So it's kind of interesting. And so I even got to see some of the sheets that he was printing, and he had multiple orders on one sheet. So there was a business card here, an advertisement here, an 8.5 by 11 newsletter here, all on one sheet. And then they would go through this process of just cutting each individual one. So yeah, it was a pretty hefty operation.
Well, printing's a very competitive business. You know, you have your retail, but if you're going out as a business and getting printing, you can pretty much get it down to, you know, the price is pretty much boiled down to about the same for everybody. I mean, you're not going to find a huge difference in price.
And it wasn't so long ago when business card orders were really expensive.
Exactly.
It was costly to order some business cards, and now, gosh, you can order hundreds for $10 or less. So that's where the industry is headed, is that all of these big, massive machines that they're ordering and setting up are making this a lot more cost-effective for customers at the other end, because they're just spitting out prints miles a minute. So.
Well, it's just conjecture too, but I believe that the biggest cost in printing something like a business card would be the card stock. And if you have to get smaller lots of a card stock, it costs more money to get that lot. Just like when you buy anything, if you buy more of it, you get it for a better price. And he probably is able to buy it in huge amounts and then able to partner up basically orders together and be able to, you know, shoot them out and still make his money and allow that printing company to make their money too.
True, the number of orders has a lot to do with it. Yeah, if they're printing bulk, then that's obviously going to be less costly to the consumer on the other end. But yeah, he was talking about how in terms of just machinery itself, he's invested about $30 million in just machines, and he's planning on investing another $30 million in the next year or so.
Well, as we know, as a printing company, it's not cheap to print. So
right.
Hats off to him.